Hey folks, welcome back to the shop here. We've got another little small pistol for you. This is the Smith & Wesson M&P Shield. This one's a 9mm. They do also have a 40 and 45 version of it, 45 being ever so slightly larger. Roughly the same dimensions, height and lengthwise as the compact, M&P compact, but it's significantly narrower. It's less than an inch, or at least that's what they say. I never bothered to measure, don't really care either. It's just another in the line of the M&P series that they have. They're good little pistols. I know several people that have them, absolutely love the hell out of them. This one I'm going to end up not only disassembling, but we're going to put a trigger kit in this gun and also some aftermarket sights they want put on it as well, which is good because to take this gun apart and get the trigger kit in, you have to remove the rear sight anyway, so that'll work out for us. They come down kind of like the Glocks, I guess. Actually, probably closer to the Springfields or SIGs. You lock the slide back and flip the takedown lever there. One of the unique things about this gun, too, is that instead of having to pull the trigger like you would on a Glock to drop the striker, I don't know if you can see in there or not, but there is a little... get some light in there. There you go. See that little yellow painted tab that's in there? You get to flick that guy down, and what that does is it deactivates the sear. It forces the sear into basically the fired position, so it doesn't catch the striker at all. And that's just another way to keep you from shooting yourself in the ass. But this is it here. You see how it moves the sear down as you play with that there. I guess we'll start here with a slide and set that just aside. So your recoil spring assembly, barrel, pretty standard stuff there. There's a lot of things in here that are similar to the Glock. You have to take the little sleeve there, push it down, pull your back plate off, and your striker will come out. This appears to be the old style striker. I think the new ones are black, not white. I could be wrong. I know they changed. No, this would be the new style anyways, regardless of what color it is, because they changed that in the old M&Ps quite some time back. There's been some upgrades and modifications for reliability on these guns for quite some time. But comes apart just like the Glock. Pull your striker spring back, slide. It's a single cup instead of a two-piece. Slide that back, striker spring will come off. That'll go away anyways, it's going to go in the trash, and then your striker will come out of its cup here, and then your little rebound spring. The firing pin stop, or the striker safety stop thing here, that's got to come out too, but that comes out the top side, so we have to pull this rear sight off. And I'll show you that here in a second. Now I'll go ahead and take it out now. Alright, so we got the front and rear sight off. Normally I wouldn't even be taking the front off, but like I said, I'm replacing them. And you've got this little plastic cap here that's got a little nub on it to hold that spring, and the spring, and then you've got your little firing pin block piece here, and that's all we have. Well, that's not all we have. We have the extractor. And again, the extractor is in there with a roll pin. I'm not going to dick with that. No reason to. But it's knock the roll pin out, dude. There's a pretty stout spring underneath there, and it comes out. It's not, you know, fucking rocket surgery. Then now we'll take the frame apart. We've got your disassembly lever here. If you rotate it up, I don't know, I guess about the 2 o'clock position is what that is. Yeah, somewhere around there. And at this point, we need to get a roll pin punch because we have to drive these out. The gun, the action parts here are held in by roll pins. These are sometimes they're absolutely terrible, and sometimes they knock out real easy. So we're about to find out what this one decides to be. Came out pretty easy. Let's see if the other one does the same thing. Yeah. That's pretty good. Anyways, that's, let's see, what is that? It's a 1/8 punch there that I use, 1/8 roll pin punch. And then we've got one more pin, and that's this guy here. It's directional, bigger on this side. And that's your trigger return spring here is held in, and that's actually the pivot pin for the trigger itself too. So, but that punches out really easy, usually. And now your trigger block and your slide stop can come up and out like so, and then the trigger itself will come out, and the trigger bar. Your factory trigger actually has somewhat of an adjustability to it. Unless you really know what you're doing, I wouldn't mess with it, but you can take, some of the take-up can be adjusted by this little loop here. They're set that way from the factory for a reason, and I'm sure somebody's going to scream and say, don't you ever touch that or whatever else. And when I put these trigger kits in, man, they usually require some tuning to this trigger bar anyways. So this little spring here, your trigger return spring, comes off. It's got a little cotton piece in there, and that's to help absorb actually vibration and stuff inside of there, so it doesn't give you a funky feel on the trigger. That spring's going to go away as well. We're not reusing it. The trigger itself, the actual plastic trigger here, will not be reusing it, so I'm going to go ahead and drive that pin out. So your trigger bar will come out of there. Hold on to that little pin, don't lose that. It's a pretty tiny little guy. But the trigger will go away. Now we need the sear block in the rear here is going to come out. Come on, there we go. And inside of that, a couple things. The safety here it's usually pretty easy to get off of the gun. Usually. I guess not the day, huh? Come on, guy. There we go. Comes off there. And then you have this. I'm going to need to get something to wipe this out. Hold on. This guy here is the spring and detent that your safety rides up against. It pops out if you push back and lift up. It'll come out of there. They're a pain in the butt to get back in sometimes, so I typically don't take them out. It's no big deal. But your sear, this sear here, is one little pin. Push it out. See, that pin will come out. Your sear pin. Put your thumb on top of there. Out your sear. And there's a detent and spring underneath there. Little tiny fucking detent and a little tiny spring. This spring will be getting replaced, but don't lose your detent, or the sear will be getting replaced. And then you've just got this little gizmo here, which again can be kind of a pain in the ass. If it's not that big of a deal, I guess. I'll pop it out. Pin, and then it will slide out like so, and its little spring there. I'll wipe that off. I think I'm probably gonna put this thing through the sonic cleaner before I hand it back to the customer. It's so gross. And then your ejector actually just slides out the front. It's in a little slot, and that's held in by the sear pin. But that's all there is to that. Like I said, this little guy, if you just push back and tilt up, see how it's wanting to come out. That's how that comes out. It's no big mystery. But I'm gonna leave it in there for simplicity's sake. Simplicity. So last thing we're gonna need to do is remove the magazine release here, and there's just that little bar inside of there. I think you can see that little bar there. anyways, it's just a stiff spring, man. It's a vertical little spring. And you punch that out, and if you lift it out of that notch, and then you'll have to push it one more time to go around the rest of this magazine release here. And it comes out relatively easy. And that's all there is. Don't worry about pulling that spring out. They do come out, but unless you have to replace it, pretty much leave that in, because you can bend it and screw something up. Not worth taking out. That's all there is to the disassembly on this. But that's all we have. If questions, comments, put them down below. Give me a like, share, subscribe. That'd be great. I'll do another video here putting it back together with all the new parts, and I'll show you how that works out. Thanks.